Heyo everyone, Misha be barking here. If you're seeing this when this video releases, then that means I'm currently at Furlandia. If you're also here, be sure to stop by and say hi, and more importantly, if you are here, why are you watching one of my videos at a con? Go have fun. Even if you're not at Furlandia though, odds are you have or are wanting to go to a FurCon, which is gonna require packing. Packing can be so daunting and can cause some pretty heavy anxiety for people, myself included. What if you overpack? What if you underpack? What if you pack the wrong things? What if you forget to pack something super important? What if what you pack is something not allowed on planes and suddenly you're not allowed to pass through TSA and they don't believe it was a simple accident and they don't let you on the flight and suddenly you have to suffer the embarrassment of not being allowed to fly and having to turn around and go home, or worse, they take you out back and... It shouldn't be a shock to anyone I tested severe for anxiety. Today I hope I can quell some of those fears you may have by discussing my packing process that has helped me throughout the years. At the end of the video I'll also show off some tips and tricks you guys have. So without further ado, let's dive on in. Before you begin packing, you're gonna have to make sure you're prepared and ready to pack. Odds are at the very least you'll need a suitcase of some kind for your clothes, hygiene items, and other things. A backpack isn't a bad idea either. This will be nice for when you're actually at the con, so that you have an easy way to carry necessities around the con floor. If you're packing a fursuit, you'll need to account for that as well. Some people use crates much like this one, while others just make do with fitting their suit parts in the suitcase. For AC and MFF, I squeezed Rascal into the suitcase and Misha was my carry-on for the flight, but more on flight packing later. In order to choose the right size suitcase, you'll need to make a list of what you're gonna bring. Also keep this list. I always check items off with an emoji when packing for the con, then I'll delete the emoji when I'm packing to leave. Since doing that, my rate of forgetting things at places has gone down significantly. I usually start making the list at least a week in advance, or the beginning of the week of the con, he says, while he hasn't even started his Furlandia list. This is so you have plenty of time to think of things to bring. If I sit there last minute and try to make the entire list, I'm gonna forget something important. Trust me, I've forgotten enough things at the grocery store. Lastly, when packing, make sure to leave extra space. Don't pack your suitcase and backpack to the absolute brim, because odds are you're gonna find things you really want at the dealer's den. I got some feet paws for Misha, and the only reason I was able to bring them home on the flight is because I left extra space in the suitcase. So you've got your list, you've got your backpack and suitcase, but what should you bring? Starting with the most obvious thing to pack, clothes. I always try to pack at least enough shirts, socks, and underwear based on how many days I'll be there. Some people will bring more or even double the amount of clothes and such, because truth be told, you never know if something will happen to a piece of clothing, like a coffee spill or something, but bringing double the amount seems like a bit of overkill. If you're worried about spills or otherwise, it might be a good idea to bring one extra shirt, but usually you end up buying a shirt or two at the con, so I find that that's usually enough extra clothing. Another thing you'll want to bring if you're suiting is Under Armour. This is a great thing to keep the sweat off your clothes and off your suit. This is very important though, listen to me close here, bring at least enough for one a day. This I'll vouch for bringing double the amount. Arcadia said it best here, if you want to suit more than once a day, you'll have to re-wear your sweaty, stinky Under Armour, so the more you bring the better. Pants, I usually bring about 2 to 3 pairs of, depending on the amount of days, since you can kinda get away with wearing pants for more than once a day. Sweaters and jackets might also be a good call depending on the time of year for the con. For Furlandia and AC, I usually bring at least one flannel, but for MFF, I definitely brought warmer clothes. Lastly, if you're staying with roommates, bringing pajamas might not be a bad idea. Hygiene products are next on the list. For the love of God, please bring these. Deodorant isn't a suggestion, it's a demand. Bring this, especially if it's a warmer con and especially if you're suiting. Please don't be the guy who makes the whole area stink wherever you go. It's not fun for those around you and makes all of us look bad. Also be sure to bring a toothbrush, toothpaste, and a comb. Shampoo, conditioner, and body wash are usually provided by the hotels you're staying at, but if you don't like the stuff provided or you need something special, bringing your own's not a bad idea. Next is electronics. This is going to be your phone charger, video or laptops and their chargers, and most importantly, a portable charger. I cannot count how many times having a portable charger has saved me when out and about. Being able to charge my phone, especially when wanting to record B-roll and not having to head back to the room midday, is so nice. Snacks are also important. Stuff like granola bars, fruit snacks, trail mix, and water bottles can be amazing to have in your room. Also, be sure to bring Gatorade. Electrolytes are one of the big things we need, but we often overlook it when we're at cons, so being able to head back to your room and have some Gatorade always comes in handy. That said, some of these may be harder to pack in bulk if you're flying, so if you have a friend or a roommate who's driving and would be willing to do you a solid, definitely ask. Most toiletries are covered by the hotels, such as toilet paper and all that jazz, but the biggest one I want to talk about is trash bags. I have to give a shout out to my friend and MFF roommate Solace for this one, as I didn't realize just how important having a giant trash bag would be so that we could throw away anything and everything that wouldn't fit in the tiny trash bins provided by the hotels. It's so much easier to throw it all away into the giant bags, tie it up, and call it a day. Lastly is any fursuit props. Fursuit fans are a great thing to have when you're suiting. Trust me, I cannot overstate how good that air feels. Collars, plushies, and other props aren't necessary, but are always great to have. And last but most important, your fursona badge. Having the badge is nice so people can know who you are at a glance. Here's mine, done by the wonderful Clovey. Next, I want to talk about general tips for both flying and driving. We'll start with flying. First, right off the bat, please go get the real ID. I know, it's stupid, it doesn't do much, but it's a requirement now. You've got to go get it to fly. Don't choose shoot the messenger. I know. If you want to vent about it in the comments, that's fine, but it's not my fault, okay? Assuming you've already done that though, be sure to double check the things allowed on flights and where you should pack them. Airlines will charge extra if your suitcase exceeds the dimensions or weight limits that they allow for standard pricing, so if you're packing heavy, keep this in mind. Check the dimensions and weight of the carry-on that they allow you to bring with you on your flight. While small suitcases are allowed, if it's too big and there's too many carry-on bags, they may require you to have it as check luggage. I just use a backpack. They've never asked me to make that check luggage, so I always get to keep it with me. Most flights allow you to bring a personal item and a carry-on bag, which is usually stored overhead. The carry-on might cost extra depending on your airline, so double check that. Last is your check bags for any extra or large suitcases, but this will cost you no matter what the airline, so be ready for that. Usually how I do it is I have Misha as my personal item in a reusable bag along with a portable charger. Then in my carry-on backpack, I'll have my hygiene products and at least one change of clothes, so that way if my luggage gets lost or delayed, I still have my main sona and at least one extra set of clothes. My check suitcase will have Rascal, the remainder of my fursuit parts, my other change of clothes, and any recording equipment or fursuit props I may have. Now if you're driving, it's a lot more lenient on what you can bring and how much. The limit is the space you have in your car, which for me is a ton. If you're carpooling with friends, keep in mind that all of your luggage has to fit, so plan and pack accordingly. Also definitely plan to be the friend who brings the snacks and waters for the room. Your flying friends will very much thank you. For the last little bit of this video, I want to include some tips from you guys. Kazu says, if you don't know how your roommates sleep, always bring earplugs. Yeah, I've had some noisy sleeper roommates in the past. This one's definitely true. Silence says, a nylon dirty clothes bag can help you keep your room neat, even if you need to repack before going home, and makes a nice water-resistant space for damp or messy clothes. Gatorade singles and a reusable water bottle can help make up for dry hotel air and drinking. A small backpack or bag can be useful at bigger cons to carry snacks, water, and other essentials. Label your stuff which multiple people might have. Phone chargers, cables, extension cords, Sharpies, and label makers work great to reduce pack-out issues. Zydex Unicorn says, if you're flying, remember to pack travel-sized toiletries so you don't have to discard them at the airport. Yes, I forgot to include this part in my flying portion. Definitely be sure to double check how many fluid ounces are allowed on a flight, and be sure to empty your water bottles before you go through TSA. Michael says, make sure what you want to bring works. Make a list of things to pack. If you're traveling by car, make sure it's up to date on maintenance, and if you're going by plane, double check the departure times. Make a plan of what you'd like to do at the con, review the events and schedule to see what interests you. This one's got more broad advice other than just packing, but I felt like including it because these are really good tips and things to do before going to a con. Fusky Butt says, fill suitcase with cream cheese. You may never know when you'll need a suitcase full of cream cheese. Honestly, my toxic trait is I could probably kill an entire suitcase of cream cheese. I fucking love cream cheese, dude. Brightpaw says, roll clothes instead of folding. Gives more space. Yes, this is what I do every single time. And you'll see it in the video that I recorded for this. I always roll my clothes up and try and stuff them in the bottom left as much as possible in the suitcase. Nihi says, 2 favorite items. A Brita water bottle, so the tap water doesn't taste as bad, and a plug-in air freshener that has a mild, clean scent. Honorable mention, humidifier. The humidifier could be good depending on where your con is, if it's like especially dry air. And I never really thought about the Brita water bottle, but that's also really good advice. Crab Rangoon says, vacuum pack your clothes and especially your fursuit. The vacuum bags usually come with a hand pump that you can bring with you and pack it all back when you leave. You'll be amazed how much fits in a suitcase with them. This one's really good if you can afford that. I don't have a vacuum bag personally, so I just kind of make do, but if you do have access to a vacuum bag, this is a really good thing to use. OD Seth says, for me it's always important to make a list of what I'm packing and bringing. Often just the process of writing the list will remind me of something else I want to bring and forgot to pack. And having that list available while at the con makes it harder to accidentally forget something at the hotel. But I'm a forgetful dear, and it's better to be safe and silly rather than sorry. No, you're completely right, and I do the same thing. We are on the same silly wavelength, the same silly brain cell. So we're to the end of the video. I hope this can serve to help quell some anxieties with packing for going to a fur con, and I hope this might have taught you something new or make you think about some things you may not have considered packing. I'm definitely going to consider the Brita water bottle thing in the future. That's a really good idea. If you have any tips to share or something I may have missed, please feel free to drop it down in the comments below. Anyways, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video, or if you're at Furlandia, come say hi. Bye!